Hey everyone, and welcome to Geek Life. I thought I would show you some examples of things that I've made so you can just get an idea of what kinds of things we'll deal with on this channel. And the first one I'm going to show you is this bracelet that I've made out of felt and wool offcuts. It's kind of a proof of concept like a lot of things I do. It's basically really just for fun. And I saw a tutorial online on an Indian site that showed how they made bangles out of Coke and Fanta bottles. And they covered it with material and they stuck rhinestones on and they made these beautiful bangles. And I thought, that would be a good backing for a little electronics project. So what I've done is I've put in a little wearables lily pad coin battery holder here and a little circuit board that gives us some logic, which controls the LEDs that I've sewn onto the bracelet itself. And when you turn it on, it sort of does LED effect. So that was pretty fun to make, and I have to say this was pretty challenging because of the round shape of the bracelet, and working in the round was quite difficult, I have to say, but I think the result was good. This is a Christmas ornament that I made a little while ago, and this was the first project that I did with these wearables LED sequins. It's got a little battery pack on the back in this little pocket, and also has its own controller here. And this is the Gemma controller from Adafruit, which I use a lot of Adafruit stuff. They're really, really amazing. And these sequins are also from Adafruit. So yeah, that's also a fun project. And this is really when I started to remember how to do blanket stitch and all of those other kind of things I'd forgotten a long time ago. This one also has its own lighting effect that brightens and fades out the LED sequence. Of the things that I've made, this moon lamp is my favorite. It's 3D printed, and these files I found online from someone who has spent a lot of effort trying to make a really, really good set of files, blueprint for printing the surface of the moon. This is what it looks like inside. I've got a Circuit Playground Express in here, and I've programmed it to show different colors based on the x-axis changing of the positioning of the board. So, I mean, this one is really fun, and I basically use it every day that I'm in my office. And it has its own special ambiance. Pretty happy with it. I've really gotten into terrariums the last while, and I really need to refactor my terrarium. So that should also be a pretty interesting experience because I've got some more mature plants in there and they have to be swapped out. So let's go have a look at that. This was a very interesting experiment. I had bought some philodendrons and neon pothos, and I think just a regular emerald pothos, and I wanted to see how they would grow in water. And I think because they're next to a window, there's some pretty good light here. They've started to fill out and make this lovely kind of a shield shape around each other, all living in this beautiful Serax vase, which has a little hole back there, and you hang it on the wall. And I tell you what, I can't actually get it off at this point anymore because the plants have attached themselves to the wall. But it's so beautiful, I don't mind. So yeah, that was a really nice experiment. This is my little bookshelf next to my window, and this is, I think, my first terrarium that I built. It looks pretty crazy. I had no clue how it would work out later on. It was all just a big experiment. I can tell you a few plants died in the name of my learning. I had a jade plant that was, no matter what I did, that thing just lost all its leaves. But anyway, now I've got this lovely string of hearts that started out really tiny, and it's grown its way all the way out of the jar. There's this Earth Star bromeliad in here, which you can't really see because of the reflection, because it's covered in other plants. There's that in there that I'd like to save because I find it a very, very nice plant. I've got this aroid here. Is it an arrow leaf? I'm not exactly sure, but it's also, surprisingly, for the amount of soil that these guys are living in, this thing has gone absolutely crazy. So yeah, that could use a trimming. And there's also a mini fig in here that's managed to settle in and really, I believe, under all of this vegetation, it's got some really interesting shape. So as you can see, everything's massively overgrown, and I'm gonna have to really refactor it sometime soon. This looks kind of weird. It was also an experiment. It's a set of succulents and cacti that I've had for about 2 years, growing in a weird location. I just wanted to see if I could get these guys to grow with grow lights. As you can see, there have been some casualties here. The string of turtles. Well, it lasted a really long time, but eventually gave up the ghost. I think they really were challenged by the dry air from the central heating during winter. Meanwhile, this is ox tongue, I believe, and it had a few pups when I bought it. I guess those have grown out pretty much. They've had very little attention and maintenance. They were in a bit of a awkward location in my office. So I think I'm amazed that they've done so well. Can you see this little guy? That's also one of the losers in this little experiment of mine. It was way bigger when I got it. I don't know if it's alive anymore. I hope it is. But I've moved them to the windowsill, and I suppose also the change in situation is kind of a shock to them. But these stone plants have done marvelously. So happy with that. Haworthia, it was never really that well anchored. So you can see the roots are sticking out here. But it's an incredibly hardy plant, and it's adapted to the light situation in that corner. I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So this is a pegboard I bought from IKEA, and I painted it, and I built these grow lights into it. And this is where I had a tray. So at IKEA you can get accessories to fit into this pegboard, and they have a tray accessory. So I had that cactus bonsai container in a tray fixed onto this for about 2 years, and well, I'm pretty happy with the experiment. Well, thanks for joining me, everyone, for a small tour of some of the projects that I've done. And I must admit that now that I go over them myself and see how much there is still to do and how many of my existing projects I need to do some maintenance on, I'm pretty excited and inspired, and I've got a lot of energy to create again. So I hope that you're also inspired and you'd like to join me for some brand new projects. See you then.